Every day you wake up, you're given a fresh chance, a blank page, and an open arena. But here's the truth. The person you are really competing against isn't out there. It's not the colleague who got promoted before you. It's not the friend who looks more successful on social media. It's not the person society compares you to. Your greatest rival, your greatest obstacle, and your greatest test is the version of you staring back in the mirror. You, that's the real game. Think about it. How often do we sabotage ourselves not because someone else beat us, but because we settled, because we didn't follow through, because we accepted our excuses instead of demanding more from ourselves? The external world doesn't hold you back as much as your own mindset does, and once you realize that, you stop playing small, you stop giving power to what other people think, and you start taking power back by asking yourself one simple question: am I better than I was yesterday? The key isn't massive overnight transformation, it's consistent elevation, it's waking up and doing one more rep when your body says stop, it's reading one more page when your mind says enough. It's making one more phone call, one more attempt, one more effort. Because that's where self-respect is born, not in talking about what you'll do, but in proving to yourself that you can. And here's the thing, nobody else has to see it. The victories that change your life are the ones you win in silence, when nobody's clapping, when nobody's watching. Those moments when you could have quit, but didn't, that's the proof. That's the evidence that you're building someone stronger, wiser, and more unstoppable than the old version of you. So stop chasing external validation and start demanding internal transformation. Every time you show up for yourself, you're telling your future, I am ready, I am prepared, I am committed. You don't need permission, you don't need applause, you don't need comparison. What you need is the courage to step into the arena of self-mastery. Remember this, life isn't about being the best, it's about being your best. It's about proving, day after day, that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. And when that inner voice whispers that you can't, that it's too hard, that you should stop, stand tall and answer back with action. Prove yourself to yourself, because when you win that battle, you unlock the ultimate victory, the certainty that nothing outside of you can ever defeat you again. It's you vs you, and that's the most important fight you'll ever win. True competition lies within. Stop comparing yourself to others and focus on surpassing your own limits. This idea may sound simple, but it carries the deepest truth about personal growth and success. From childhood, most of us are conditioned to measure our worth by external standards. We look at grades, trophies, salaries, titles, or even how many followers someone has. Society teaches us that success is about being ahead of others, but in reality, the only competition that truly matters is the one you have with yourself. When you compare yourself to others, you play a game that you can never fully win, because there will always be someone faster, stronger, richer, or more skilled. But when you compare yourself to who you were yesterday, you create a fair and powerful race that you can always progress in. Think about it. If your only goal is to outdo someone else, your growth stops once you've reached their level. But if your goal is to outdo yourself, your growth becomes limitless. You remove the ceiling. Every single day becomes an opportunity to set a new standard for your own life. It's no longer about proving something to the world. It's about proving something to yourself. That shift is liberating. Instead of chasing shadows of other people's success, you begin to carve out your own path. You define your own version of achievement and fulfillment, one that is unique to your journey. This doesn't mean you ignore the world around you. It means you learn from others, but you don't measure your self-worth against them. For example, if you see someone healthier or more disciplined, instead of feeling discouraged or envious, you can ask yourself, how can I use this as inspiration to become a better version of me? If someone is more successful in business, instead of saying, I'll never be like them, shift your question to what is one thing I can improve today that will move me closer to my best self. That's how the focus changes from competition to transformation. Surpassing your own limits requires awareness. You need to know your patterns, where you hold back, where you procrastinate, and where you sell yourself short. Once you identify those areas, your mission is not to blame yourself, but to challenge yourself. Every day, you are presented with small choices that can either reinforce your old self or help build your new self. The way you wake up in the morning, the way you handle discomfort, the way you respond when things get hard, all these moments are opportunities to compete with yesterday's version of you. If yesterday you hit the snooze button 5 times, today challenge yourself to get up after one. If yesterday you gave up on a difficult task, today push yourself to go just a little further. These are not dramatic leaps, but consistent, incremental victories that build unshakable confidence. Another important truth is that comparison with others often breeds insecurity, while comparison with yourself breeds empowerment. When you compare yourself to others, you usually focus on their strengths and your weaknesses. But when you compare yourself to yourself, you can clearly see your progress, even if it's small. That progress fuels motivation, and motivation fuels momentum. Over time, this creates a cycle of growth that is self-sustaining. You stop needing validation from outside sources because your own progress becomes the proof that you're moving in the right direction. Ultimately, life is not about being the best in the world. It's about being the best for yourself. It's about asking daily, did I push a little harder today? Did I stretch my limits? Did I grow even in the smallest way? When the answer is yes, you know you're on the right track. The finish line isn't out there in someone else's lane. It's inside you, and it keeps moving forward as you keep growing. When you embrace that truth, competition stops being stressful, and it becomes exciting. Because you realize there is no end point, no final comparison, just a lifelong journey of becoming stronger, wiser, and more capable than you were yesterday. Growth is a daily discipline. Each small step is proof of progress over who you were yesterday. The human mind often tricks us into believing that change must be massive, dramatic, and sudden in order to matter. But the truth is that meaningful transformation comes from the tiny, consistent actions repeated over time. Think of growth like a seed. You don't plant a seed today and expect a towering tree tomorrow. You water it, nurture it, and give it light, knowing that each day brings invisible progress that eventually becomes visible strength. That is how your own development works. Every single choice, no matter how small, builds momentum toward becoming the best version of yourself. Too often, people dismiss small wins because they don't seem significant. They think if they don't achieve something big right away, it's not worth celebrating, but small wins are the foundation of greatness. When you choose to exercise for 10 minutes, when you choose to read instead of scrolling, when you choose to focus for an extra hour on your work, those moments are proof that you are stepping beyond your old limits. You are teaching your brain that progress is possible. Over time, these actions compound, just like compound interest in a bank. One drop of water doesn't fill a bucket, but many drops over time create something substantial. Discipline is the bridge between where you are and where you want to be. Without discipline, your goals remain dreams. With discipline, your goals turn into reality because every day you make intentional decisions that move you forward. Growth doesn't require perfection, it requires persistence. Even on days when you feel tired, unmotivated, or uncertain, if you can still take one step, however small, you are reinforcing the habit of progress. And the beauty of this approach is that it builds confidence. Confidence doesn't come from achieving something huge instantly. It comes from keeping the promises you make to yourself daily. Progress isn't about giant leaps. It's about consistency. A person who improves by just 1% every day will experience massive change over time, far more than the person who tries to change everything overnight and burns out. This mindset allows you to release the pressure of perfection and instead focus on the practice of growth. Ask yourself daily, what is one thing I can do today to be a little better than yesterday? That question opens the door to endless possibilities. Each step, each decision, each act of discipline is evidence. It proves to you that you are capable, that you are moving forward, and that you are not stuck. Growth is not an event, it's a lifestyle. When you commit to daily discipline, you stop waiting for the right time to change because you realize the right time is always now. And when you look back months or years later, you'll see the proof of your progress written in every step you chose to take. Growth doesn't shout. It whispers through consistent actions that build a stronger, wiser, more resilient you. Self-belief is not built overnight. It's developed by honoring commitments you make to yourself. Many people misunderstand confidence, thinking it's something you're born with or something you gain only after achieving great results. But real, lasting self-belief is not given to you, it's earned. It's built slowly, day after day, in the quiet moments when you follow through on what you promised yourself. Every time you make a commitment and keep it, you strengthen your inner trust. And every time you break a promise to yourself, that trust weakens. Just like any relationship, the most important one you have is with yourself, and trust is at the center of it. Think of self-belief as a muscle. If you want it to grow, you must exercise it regularly. Each small commitment, whether it's waking up early, finishing a task, exercising, or practicing a skill, is a chance to lift that weight. The more you keep showing up, the stronger your belief becomes. Over time, your mind begins to trust that when you say, "I will," you actually mean it. This trust is powerful because it transforms your identity. You no longer just try things. You become the type of person who follows through. That shift changes how you approach challenges, how you handle setbacks, and how you see yourself in the mirror. The danger is that many people treat their own commitments casually while treating commitments to others as sacred. If they promise a friend or a boss something, they'll bend over backward to keep their word. But when they promise themselves they'll exercise, eat healthier, or study more, they abandon it as if it doesn't matter. The truth is, every time you do this, you're teaching yourself a dangerous lesson, that your own word is not valuable. This erodes self-belief, because how can you believe in yourself if you don't keep your word to yourself? On the other hand, when you begin to honor your own commitments, even in the smallest ways, you begin to rebuild that self-respect. Imagine telling yourself you'll wake up 30 minutes earlier tomorrow to focus on something important, and then actually doing it. That single act is proof that you can rely on yourself, proof that you are capable of aligning intention with action. These little victories add up, and soon they form the foundation of unshakable self-belief. Self-belief is not about arrogance or pretending you're perfect. It's about creating a deep inner certainty that you can depend on yourself. Life will always throw challenges your way. You cannot control the external circumstances, but you can always control your response. And if you've built the habit of honoring commitments to yourself, you'll respond with strength instead of doubt. You'll approach challenges not with the question, "Can I do this?" but with the certainty, "I will figure this out." That certainty is not built in the big moments on the stage. It's built in the small, often unseen moments of discipline and follow-through. So if you want to build unstoppable self-belief, start small. Make promises you know you can keep, and then expand them over time. Prove to yourself that you can be counted on. The process is gradual, but it's permanent because every action compounds. Soon, you'll discover that your confidence no longer depends on external validation or temporary success. It will come from the inside, from a place of knowing that your word to yourself is unbreakable. That's how you build self-belief, not in one leap, but in thousands of consistent, honored commitments that turn into the unshakable truth that you are capable of more than you ever imagined. Your past does not define you. Your choices today shape the person you are becoming. Many people live as prisoners of their past, carrying the weight of old mistakes, regrets, or failures as if they are permanent chains. They let what has already happened dictate who they are allowed to be, but the truth is, the past is nothing more than a memory, a collection of experiences that no longer exist except in your mind. What truly matters is not where you've been, but where you're willing to go from this moment forward. Every choice you make today has the power to create a new direction, no matter how heavy your history feels. Think of the most inspiring stories you've ever heard. Great leaders, athletes, entrepreneurs, or everyday people who turned their lives around. Almost every one of them came from a place of struggle, doubt, or pain. What separates them from those who remain stuck is that they refuse to let their past define their future. They chose to see their past as a lesson, not a prison. Your past can either be the reason you give up or the reason you rise higher. It depends on the meaning you assign to it. The problem is that many people replay their mistakes over and over, creating a cycle of self-doubt. They convince themselves that because they failed once, they are destined to fail again. But failure is not an identity, it's an event. And every event can be used as fuel for growth if you choose to learn from it. The most important thing to remember is this: the past cannot be changed, but the meaning you give to it can. If you see your past as a curse, it will weigh you down. If you see it as a teacher, it will empower you. Today is always more powerful than yesterday. Every decision you make now reshapes the trajectory of your future. You can decide to break patterns that no longer serve you. You can decide to develop new habits, to forgive yourself, to rise stronger from the lessons of pain. The person you were yesterday is gone. The person you are today has the power to create a new story. Even if you've lived years stuck in the same habits, the very next choice you make has the potential to disrupt that cycle. That's how transformation begins, not in one giant leap, but in the courage to take one step in a new direction. It's also important to recognize that the past, while it does not define you, can refine you. It gives you perspective, resilience, and wisdom if you choose to embrace it. The challenges you faced in the past have given you tools to navigate the present. Instead of resenting what happened, ask yourself, what did this teach me? How can I use this to become stronger, more compassionate, or more focused? By reframing your past as preparation instead of punishment, you gain the power to shape a future that excites you. At the end of the day, life is a story you are constantly writing. The past chapters are already written, but they don't determine how the rest of the book will unfold. You are the author, and you hold the pen. Every choice you make today is like writing a new sentence that can shift the entire direction of your story. You don't have to erase your past. You simply have to refuse to let it control your future. Your power lies in this moment, in this choice, in the decision to shape the person you are becoming. The most powerful victories are invisible, happening in the moments when no one is watching. Society often celebrates the results, the medals, the titles, the recognition, the spotlight. But those are only the surface. What truly creates those outcomes is the invisible grind, the silent battles that happen in private when nobody is clapping. It is easy to show up when the crowd is cheering, when recognition is guaranteed, but real strength is built in the unseen hours when only your inner voice is present. That is where discipline, resilience, and character are forged. Think of an athlete. The world may celebrate the championship win, but what they don't see are the countless early mornings, the painful training sessions, the sacrifices made in silence. The real victory wasn't on the stage. It was in every small decision to push harder when nobody was demanding it. The same is true for anyone striving toward growth. The moments you choose to study instead of procrastinate, to practice instead of relax, to stay committed instead of quitting, those invisible decisions shape your future more than any external applause ever could. Invisible victories matter because they reveal who you are when there is no external pressure or reward. When no one is watching, the only accountability you have is to yourself. And if you can win in those moments, you build a foundation of integrity that cannot be shaken. Integrity is doing the right thing even when no one notices, and those choices accumulate to create unstoppable momentum. When the big opportunities finally arrive, you will be ready, not because you suddenly rose to the occasion, but because you trained yourself in silence for that very moment. The mistake many people make is waiting for recognition to fuel their effort. They want others to notice before they give their best. But the truth is, recognition comes after you've already proven yourself in private. Applause is a delayed response to invisible discipline. If you depend on external validation to act, you will never reach your true potential. But if you learn to celebrate the unseen victories, you will develop an unshakable inner drive. Every time you choose growth when no one is watching, you prove to yourself that your standards are higher than your circumstances. Invisible victories also build resilience. When you train yourself to do the hard things in silence, you become stronger in ways others can't understand. You stop relying on outside motivation because your strength comes from within. This makes you unbreakable when challenges arrive, because you've already built the habit of showing up regardless of who is watching. And the truth is, life's biggest battles are often fought internally. It's the battle against laziness, fear, doubt, and distraction. Winning those silent battles gives you the confidence to face external challenges with courage and certainty. In the end, the invisible victories are often the most meaningful because they are authentic. Nobody forced you, nobody rewarded you, nobody even noticed, but you did it anyway. That is pure self-respect. That is the foundation of greatness. When you look back on your journey, you may realize that the proudest moments weren't the times you stood on a stage or received recognition, but the quiet times when you pushed yourself, proved yourself, and grew stronger without anyone else knowing. Those invisible victories are the true evidence that you are becoming the best version of yourself, and they are the reason visible victories eventually appear. Success is not external validation, it's the internal certainty that you gave your absolute best. 2. Often people define success by applause, recognition, or material rewards. They believe success only exists when others approve, when society acknowledges them, or when achievements are displayed for the world to see. But that version of success is fragile, because it depends on opinions you cannot control. The deeper, more lasting version of success comes from within, from the quiet certainty that you showed up fully, that you honored your potential, and that you gave everything you had regardless of who noticed. External validation can feel good, but it is temporary. The applause fades, the compliments stop, the spotlight moves on. If your sense of worth depends on those fleeting moments, you will constantly chase approval and never feel fulfilled. True success comes from the inner knowledge that you stayed true to your values, your vision, and your effort. It comes from knowing that you didn't quit when things were tough, that you didn't cut corners when nobody was watching, and that you kept moving forward even when recognition was absent. That certainty cannot be taken away from you because it lives inside you. When you shift your definition of success from external validation to internal fulfillment, you gain freedom. You are no longer controlled by comparison, jealousy, or the pressure to perform for others. Instead, your focus shifts to your own growth and integrity. Did I give my best today? Did I push myself beyond comfort? Did I honor the standards I set for myself? If the answer is yes, then you have already succeeded, no matter what the outside world says. That is the kind of success that leads to peace of mind and lasting confidence. Some of the greatest people in history were not recognized in their time. Their work was ignored, criticized, or misunderstood. But they still succeeded because their measure of success was not external applause. It was their own commitment to doing their best. They trusted that their effort mattered, even if the world didn't see it right away. This lesson applies to everyone. You cannot always control how quickly results show up, but you can always control how deeply you commit to giving your best effort. Success is also deeply personal. For one person, success might be building a business empire. For another, it might be raising a strong family, staying healthy, or mastering a skill. There is no universal scoreboard, only the one you set for yourself. That's why tying your worth to someone else's approval or definition of success is dangerous. The only standard that truly matters is whether you honored your own path. That means measuring yourself not by what you achieved compared to others, but by what you achieved compared to your own potential. When you know you've given your all, you carry a deep sense of pride and fulfillment that no external recognition can match. Even if no one notices, you notice. Even if no one applauds, you feel the inner applause of your own conscience. That certainty is the strongest foundation for a meaningful life because it cannot be shaken by rejection, failure, or lack of recognition. Success is not about being celebrated. It's about being at peace with the effort you gave, knowing that you left nothing undone, nothing withheld. In the end, success is not found on a stage, in a bank account, or in the praise of others. It is found in the quiet moments when you reflect on your day and know, deep down, that you lived with integrity, effort, and purpose. That is success, that is freedom, and that is the only validation you will ever truly need.